Well, hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our live stream on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm Bonnie Low-Kramen. I'm coming to you live from my home in Ponte Vedra, Florida. And I want to begin by saying that I'm very grateful to be streaming live for the very first time from LinkedIn today. I am joined by my assistant, Jen. Jen, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Jen Wilner, Bonnie's assistant, and I'm coming to you live from my home office in Edison, New Jersey.
And Jen and I have been working together for 7 years, and for a few months we have created this event weekly called Heads Together, where we put our heads together and we invite others into the party, and we have a chat going, so we get to see who's joining us. And I see Jill coming in from London, which is great. We tend to have a very international crowd, and so excited to have all of you in on this conversation. Mm-hmm. So here we are in late September, and I want to dedicate today's event to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the notorious RGB. She has served to be an inspiration to me for such a long time, as someone who's been such a proponent and an advocate for pay equity in the workplace for women, but for men as well. She was such an outspoken and articulate person, working so hard to benefit all working women in the workplace. And when she started, she had a lot stacked up against her. And at this point, I've been in 14 countries and 38 states. And what I can tell you for sure is that we still have a lot of work to do in the area of salary and compensation and pay equity. So as we were getting ready for today, Jen and I were talking about our first jobs. And I think we all remember our first jobs. Yeah. And let me just say welcome to everyone who's signing in. It's wonderful to see all of you. And we want you part of this conversation. So we're talking about salary and compensation and packages. But I thought to begin to talk about our first job. Jen, what was your first job?
So I'm going to say my first paycheck was working at John Frank's clothing department store in Westfield, New Jersey, in the ladies department. And I was very happy that my managers were women as a 17-year-old. But before that, I had the typical cleaning houses and shoveling snow kind of jobs. Yeah.
And you had pretty good managers at the
beginning? Amazing managers. They literally helped me put a roof over my head.
Yeah.
At 17.
We all remember our first jobs, don't we? And hello to all of you signing in. Do you remember your first job? Do you remember? I was a babysitter. I remember getting $2 an hour, and happy to get it, around age 10 or 11. We all remember. But when we start our first jobs, no one really teaches us how to negotiate and how to talk about money. Mm-hmm. At this point, as I said, I've been in 14 countries and 38 states, and everywhere I go, this subject of negotiating money and salary and packages is the most burning issue. For a long time, it was workplace bullying, and that's certainly right up there with one of the subjects that's really burning in the workplace. But this issue of money is so pervasive and so in the front of people's minds that I thought that would be a perfect way to start off my first time on LinkedIn Live and on Facebook and YouTube as we have this conversation. Hello, everyone. Oh, let's see. What did Sherry do?
That's some great. So Sherry worked the opening shift at a donut shop. Yeah.
It's still in high school. We have a shampoo girl.
Yeah. Oh, I did newspapers. I forgot about that.
Yeah, newspaper carriers. We all remember our first job. We remember our managers, whether they were good to us, and we also remember if they were not good to us.
Mm-hmm.
But, so fast forward to adulthood, when we land our first job, whether it's out of college or out of high school, and what I see all over is that there's so much fear around the subject of money, that the subject of money is just filled with, secrecy. And it seems to be a forbidden subject. Oh, Mary worked at Chick-fil-A. We all remember. But it's hard to talk to our managers about money, isn't it? So it's a subject that has been taboo and forbidden and secret. And that is in part what is the problem. If you watch the data, we know that there is a serious wage gap in the world. For every dollar a man makes, women, white women, Caucasian women are making 81 cents for every dollar a man makes. But for women of color, it's far less. It's 64 cents for African American women and 54 cents for Latina women. Mm. And that wasn't all right with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and it's not okay with me. Most of the students we have at Be the Ultimate Assistant workshops, the profession is still 95 to 98% female. And that demographic, I believe, what I see, absolutely impacts our relationship with money. Mm-hmm. And human resources relationship with the assistants of the world and how they are deciding to pay assistants. And oh my goodness, since COVID, the workplace is really in flux. Let's see, a few more, Jen. Let's see what people did as their first jobs.
So, Dominique, selling suits to men in Nordstrom in 15. Oh, I can relate. Yep.
Hey, I sold women's lingerie. I've sold shoes. What was that one?
Phone order assistant in a small grocery store at 13. Yeah. Sounds like a dream job at 13.
Yeah. Well, Jen, let's show the first picture. For those of you who may not know me or know me very well, for 25 years, I worked as the personal assistant to Oscar-winning actress Olympia Dukakis. Olympia is shown on the slide with her Oscar for the film Moonstruck. She starred in that film with Cher. And I thought that I've got so many photos that I could have shared, but for those movie buffs, do we have any movie buffs listening? Do you know who the man is, and do you know who the other woman is? Obviously, Cher is standing next to Olympia. Do we have any movie buffs out there who know who these wonderful actors are, who are both Academy Award winners? Mm-hmm. I'm just looking at the chat to see.
I know, waiting to see your answers.
I don't want to take too much time here, but the woman is probably less familiar. She is Marlee Matlin. Marlee won an Academy Award for the film Children of a Lesser God. She happens to be the only Academy Award winner who is deaf. And Marion got the gentleman. It was Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve. He passed away, of course, from the horse accident. But he was a friend of Olympia's, and I actually met him once. And great guy. Those of you may know he got his start in theater. He was a theater actor way before he shot Superman. Let's go to the next picture, Jen. So yeah, here we are for 25 years. Olympia had an amazing career. You might know the film Steel Magnolias and Mr. Holland's Opus, and she had an incredible film career. married to the amazing, wonderful Louis Zorich. Louis was if he looks familiar to you, he was on the TV show Mad About You. For many years, he played Paul Reiser's father. And I wanted to share these pictures with you because with both Olympia and Louis, I learned so much about how to be a professional working woman in this workplace from Olympia. And with both of them, I was able to see negotiations in real time, because both of them were very successful actors. So both of them had agents and managers. And I remember, for 25 years, watching Olympia look at potential scripts and contracts. And inevitably, the first question Olympia would ask when her agent would give her an offer for a film or TV show, her first question always was, can they get me more money? She always knew that the game was to negotiate. And that is the situation in the workplace. Everything is negotiable. It's true in Hollywood, and it's true in the corporate workplace. And I would sit back and watch that happen. And I would think to myself, well, this is easy for Olympia because she has an agent and a manager. Who's negotiating for me? And the fact is that for the majority of assistants out there, the majority of staff, we don't have agents and managers. So we have to figure it out ourselves. And therein lies part of the problem. Let's go to the next picture, Jen. So this is just a great picture of Olympia from that famous scene in Moonstruck when Cher wakes her up and her question to Cher is, who died? But look at that face. That face is the face that I worked with for 25 years. And that is the face who would say to me, Bonnie, when people work, they should be paid, and they should be paid fairly. Just like happens with us, Olympia often got asked to do things for free. And of course, sometimes she did agree to it. But many times it felt unfair. And sometimes she felt like she was being asked to do things for free and that a man wouldn't have been asked, that there is inequity in the world. And she highlighted that for me. And I learned so much by having a front row seat for those negotiations. I think we just have a couple of more, Jen.
Yep.
Okay, so fast forward a few years ago, Olympia actually attended several Be the Ultimate Assistant workshops. This one happens to be in New York City, and pictured with us was the man who replaced me after I left for 25 years. That's Patrick Healy, and he was Olympia's beloved assistant for the remainder of her career. She's not working any longer, but that powerhouse of a woman taught me so much, and that is a lesson here that I want to share on this event that we're streaming live. We all need help with certain things. And I believe we especially need help with negotiations. And I'm so grateful to have had Olympia as a mentor to be able to watch. It doesn't happen by magic that assistants are able to make the money they deserve, or any profession. I hope we have, people who represent all kinds of fields on this call. I wonder, do we have any comments, Jen? Thank you.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So Joe commented about why I contract through recruiters, because I realized people did not want to negotiate directly with PAs.
That is true. And what we want is for there to be a better coordination with recruiters. We know that not all recruiters are made alike. And we want to work with recruiters who really, really understand what the role of the assistant is. And we hope that recruiters will negotiate the very best salary on behalf of assistants. But assistants have some work to do in terms of negotiating salary. Okay, Dominique is saying that you love that we're talking about this today. I'm making a plan strategy. Yes, yes, yes. On my website, betheultimateassistant.com. I have written, Dominique and everyone, a number of articles on this subject because it is so not okay with me that, frankly, as I travel, I see that far too many assistants are underpaid. In some cases, severely underpaid. In some cases, assistants in the aftermath of 9/11 and in the aftermath of 2008, and now with the pandemic, we have a workplace that is so volatile and so moving around that the assistant's instinct always is to just put heads down and get it done, just get the job done, without much thought to an accurate job description, a title that is responsive to what you're actually doing, and a salary that is respectful and fair. That's what Ruth Bader Ginsburg wanted. That's what I want. I'm not in the business of advocating greediness for anybody. I believe we have a distance to go to get to fair, though. We need to get to fair in the workplace, and there are a lot of ways to have that happen. And so I'd like to talk about a little bit like of that. Jen, do we have any other questions before we?
Not yet.
Okay. So in these articles on my website, one is called Taboo No More, talking honestly about money. Another one is called 5 Ways for Women to Make More Money. And these strategies apply to men as well. I am absolutely in favor of both women and men making the money you deserve. Historically, though, it is women who are suffering the most from this wage gap. And therefore it is, and in part because we're not trained to negotiate for what we're worth. And why don't we negotiate? Because we're filled with fear. You don't know what you don't know. And my goal is for the women and men of the world to get the strategy when they're in their 20s and 30s rather than 40s, 50s, 60s. Better late than never if it is happening later. But frankly, I believe that it's the secrecy and the taboo nature of this subject that has kept assistants not making the money that they deserve. What does Mary have to say, Jen?
Mary says to get executives, recruiters, and businesses to understand the pay to be equal to our contributions, it's up to all of us to speak to power.
Yes, ma'am. Mary Alanis is coming to us from Houston, Texas. There is a trend that's happening in the United States right now, and it's beginning to happen around the world. The pandemic has thrown a serious monkey wrench into the workplace. But even so, you can imagine how HR departments globally have been in something of a crisis, given what's going on. I mean, they're so consumed with reentry plans and how do we bring people back safely and what do our offices look like? How do they need to be reconfigured? That frankly, my communications with HR professionals indicate that the assistant's job descriptions and compensation is not at the top of the list. It hasn't been at the top of the list for a long, long time. Yet, what is desired by leaders and HR is to stabilize our companies. We need to stabilize the companies because we have so much chaos and so much movement and the volatility going on. One way to stabilize a staff is to reward high performers. I strongly recommend that part of the strategy is to spend time putting your job description in writing, as detailed as you can possibly get it, that is accurate. I don't care if it goes on for 4, 5, 6 pages. It simply needs to be accurate. Some assistants, when they do that exercise, they realize that they're actually doing 2 and sometimes 3 jobs. That's not even a joke. And they're putting in killer hours. They're certainly not making the salary of doing 2 or 3 jobs, though.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, as Mary says, unless we speak to truth to power, things won't change. But because of the volatility in the workplace, HR departments are inclined to hear you and hear your request for what's called a pay evaluation on the road to pay equity. The question is being asked by a lot of people around the United States, even though we have a pandemic, is could I understand how my salary measures up with the rest of the company? That is a legitimate question that needs to be asked. If you are unsure, if you are curious about it, that is an absolutely legitimate question to ask. We need to be part of the solution to pull back the curtain and get some honest transparency and accountability, because frankly, which is the case with so many staff, they don't want to lose you. Your leverage is that they don't want you to walk. They don't want you to leave. Do we have any other comments or questions?
Yeah, we do. Joe was saying a lot of companies refer to the Hay point system to decide salary levels for support professionals. How do you view this system? Do you feel it's discriminatory?
Well, here's the thing. Here in the United States, assistants will talk to me about salary bands and salary caps and, structure, stratification of the system. And the reality is many of these systems are obsolete and out of date, that they haven't been updated in a very long time. Now, I won't mislead. I'm not as familiar with the Hay system in the UK as I am with the salary bands in the United States. And in fact, let me say this, and Jen and I are prepared to stay longer than 30 minutes after the hour, depending on what time zone you're in. We usually go on these events for 30 minutes, but this subject, in honor and of RGB, we want to talk about how people can make the money that you deserve. And it starts with a conversation and really begins with a clear outlining of your job description. The fact is that some of the systems at companies need to be overhauled. And first, it requires seeing what it is, what structure exists, and is it reflective of what's happening in 2020? I was shocked. I was in England a year ago when travel was permitted, and we were talking about this subject. In the room was an assistant from HR at a massive company you would absolutely know the name of, and she was saying how people are so underpaid. And my comment was, well, when were job descriptions updated? And she actually said 10 years ago. That can't be okay with anybody. If that's the case, why is this happening? Frankly, when assistants tell me that they're dealing with an overly generic, obsolete job description, my message back is create your own. Create your own. And you can go on Glassdoor, Indeed, salary.com to get a sense of what you should be earning. There are many ways to find out how much your role is worth. That's part of the problem, is that not enough people understand what the role is worth in your market, because it's different. In San Francisco is the highest paid market in the United States. New York is number 2. And then there are some other major cities, some places in Texas and in Florida, and it's geographic. So you can visit a local recruiter to get some up-to-the-minute data. You can go to these, what's referred to as crowdsourcing sites, like Indeed and Glassdoor, to get a sense of what the role is worth. But you've got your years of experience, you have your talents and skills, and you have your education. Your resume should be fantastic. We need to stick with the data. Job description equals money. Job description equals money. If you are bringing the skills every day to your office and you can prove the value of the role, then that is negotiable and that is valuable to your team. Any other comments or questions out there, Jen?
Yes, we have a comment from Janelle. I think negotiations for an assistant salary just depends on what company you're working with, especially in this environment.
Absolutely, Janelle. Please know that I'm in touch with a lot of assistants from all over the United States and the world. In the United States, of course, at first in March and April, the job situation was pretty dismal and very high unemployment, and there still is, but hiring is happening again. Companies are ramping up again, and they need administrative staff to help them figure out how we're going to move forward. They absolutely need you. But yes, it really depends who's in HR, who's at the leadership, how is the role valued? And I can tell you that training has never been more important. As leaders, Mary Barra from GM had a great interview, I think back in May, where she really talked about the importance of reskilling the staff at GM. And many companies' leaders are seeing the value of retraining assistants and other staff as well in the areas that need to be recalibrated. Now, certainly, I've also heard about companies that asked staff to take a pay cut with the pandemic. That has happened. The hope is that will be rewarded when the emergency is over. But I would urge you to not assume that it will be rewarded without asking for it. You don't get if you don't ask. Any other comments or questions out there, Jen?
Sarah McDonald, very happy that she's here.
Oh, fantastic. Hi, Sarah. Welcome, welcome. So here's some new news. Today's Wednesday, and that's not the news. On Friday, I write regularly for Executive Secretary magazine that many of you know is the publisher is Lucy Brazier, amazing friend and colleague of mine. I'm so proud to announce to you that I co-wrote an article with a colleague of mine named Jeremy Spake from the West Coast. Jeremy is a compensation expert, and we collaborated on an article that is going to be the cover story of Executive Secretary magazine. It hits this Friday, and the title of it is How HR is Really Deciding to Pay You. It is, there are some shocking pieces of news in there, and Jeremy really opened my eyes to what is happening. And Janelle, you were so right that it is specific to a company, because some companies, as Jeremy helped me understand, use survey companies to get up to the minute information about salaries in a city for a certain job code. Other companies do not. And the hard truth is, I'm going to cut you to the chase because this is a long article, but so worth it. I hope you'll check it out. The hard truth is, in some HR departments, they are paying the staff the minimum you'll say yes to. Not based on any hard data, not based on any survey, just the minimum that you'll say yes to, which is why we need to negotiate. We absolutely need to negotiate. And by paying staff what you actually deserve in the long term, it will result in the company making more money. It's not like by me and Jeremy delivering this news that companies are going to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they're talking like this. The truth is, and you all know that if you're underpaid, it's preoccupying you. It eats up time and energy and productivity. So to pay people fairly means you're improving loyalty, you're improving employee retention, you're improving productivity. that has got to mean profits for companies. So there is a correlation, there is a connection. What Jeremy helped me understand is that HR departments are moving towards a time where we're not going to be in secrecy or forbidden subject land anymore, that it has got to be about transparency, pay equity, and pay transparency as a way to move companies forward, stable for this next decade, because my goodness, it's been thrown up into the air like a deck of cards right now. And you know what? The people who have gotten jobs during this pandemic, many of them who I know, Boston, Colorado, California, Florida, New York, did not have to take less money for these new jobs. Job description equals money. And if a company is doing well, I'm not advocating anyone take advantage of the situation, but I am saying that if you're doing a specific job description, you deserve to be paid fairly for that job description. Questions, comments, Jen?
From Allison, super scary moment seeing a great AA job opening close to home, but being afraid to apply and ask for certain salary because tech skills need to be updated.
Allison, now is the time to upskill your tech. It is so necessary. My colleague, Vicki Sokol-Evans, redcapeco.com, she is all about certification for Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. We know that our Be the Ultimate Assistant students are getting job offers because of the tech skills. So Allison, the data also shows that women in general will only apply for a job if you have 90% of the requirements of a job, where men will apply if they only have 60% of the job requirements. So I would say it might be scary, do it anyway. I want you to read the articles on my website, Taboo No More. I've got a blog. You go to bonnielowkramen.com. There are the resources tab. And I'm a writer, and my blog is just filled with articles. I am determined to honor Ruth Bader Ginsburg and to help women and men of the world make the money you deserve. But you have to all do your part, which means coming to the table with excellence every single day with the skills that you need to complete the work. But Allison, if you really have most of the job requirements, I urge you to apply anyway. At the very least, it'll be great experience with interviewing. And you may meet some interesting people along the way. How many stories have we heard about when you apply for one job, it ends up being like, hey, you know what? Maybe you'd be right for something else. You just never know. So I urge you to take a shot. Honestly, you really have nothing to lose.
Absolutely. We have a comment here, Bonnie, from our friend Ike.
Ike.
I think a critical component of the discussion with your exec is communicating your value and worth in a way they listen. My exec is in numbers and figures and data. Others respond to different types of info.
Yeah, thank you, Ike. And what a pleasure to have you here from Chicago. BTUA, Ike makes a great point. What I see is that most executives, most leaders want the data. They want the hard data. And we cannot assume that they have our job description fresh in their head or our resumes fresh in their head. That's why in these articles, I lay out creating your own business case that's beautifully documented to make it easy on your leaders. I'm not sure if it was in your class or not, but we've had assistants say to us, I brought the business case to my leader to say that I haven't had a raise in 3 years. I mean, I'm not exaggerating here. That happens. And we've had leaders in response to that news say, you're not serious. I thought HR had this handled. Let's go handle this right now. Mm-hmm. They just don't know. There's, everybody is pedaling so fast and moving so quickly. It's not only staff, our executives. This pandemic has thrown executives and leaders into a tailspin as well. We need to do this. We need to err on the side of offering more data, more details, and simply saying what we need and what we want. And it's different now. It could be different now about what you envision for your role. Do you want to work at home all the time now? This is the time to reimagine what you want to do, either at your current company or perhaps someplace else. And whatever it is, I want to support you to make that happen.
Bon, there's a good question here from Dominique that I think you'd like to address. Can you speak to the varying pay rates due to location now that we're working remotely?
Yep.
My skills were acquired in Bay Area, and I'm a UC Berkeley grad, but live in Austin, which is significantly lower in cost of living.
Yeah. If you're in the Bay Area is absolutely starting assistance in the 90 to 100 neighborhood. But of course, that area is super high expenses, cost of living. Here's the thing. If you are working remotely, it should not necessarily mean a reduction in salary. Remember, job description equals money. So it is about the job responsibilities that you have. It does not matter if you're doing it from your kitchen table or your office that you commute to. It's about, are you getting it done? That's what matters. It does not matter whether you're doing it remotely or not. And so I urge you to do your research on that. In fact, one of my colleagues, Melba Duncan, who many of you know out of New York City, she believes that where we're headed is that geography shouldn't matter at all. That if you're a C-suite assistant or an assistant at any level, that it simply is about the job description. It shouldn't matter whether you're doing it in Omaha, Nebraska, Dallas, Texas, or New York City. Anything else, Jen?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had from Kasia, it's true men will ask for a job, and if they realize that they respond only 50% to 60% at it.
So I tell a story at B2A how I met Sheryl Sandberg. I'm a huge fan of Sheryl Sandberg. She wrote the book Lean In that came out in 2013. And I met her in 2013 when that book came out. And she said something that night in front of this audience of 300 that I will never forget. She said that CEOs, the book is about what it really means to be a working woman in this modern workplace. And I believe there's so much spot on about the book. So she said that CEOs and leaders from all over the world are contacting her in the aftermath of the book and saying to her, Sheryl, all of our female employees are reading your book. And then they're coming to us asking for raises. And we're giving them those raises because they deserve them. She made the point, you don't get if you don't ask. We must get better at asking. And I want to help you to do that. And let us honor Ruth Bader Ginsburg and get this thing done. Let us, one of my goals is by the time my career is over, I want to make this wage gap go away, that it is simply not fair. And that we need to, to help women close this wage gap is to help all people. This is a human issue. This is a people issue. This is not a women versus men issue at all, because this is about families. This is about making it better, not only for ourselves, but how about for our children who are coming up behind us and the assistants coming up behind us. So Jen, we have some things to, do we have another question?
Yeah, one more long comment, but I think we want to see this one. It might cover our faces for a second.
Okay, that's fine.
Janelle says, I'm going to add these back to my weekly schedule. Here's the great takeaway. Everyone is holding
up. Good.
Yeah, I love value retraining assistants in an area where responsibilities need to be recalibrated. Yes.
Yep. So here's our goal with this event that we call Heads Together every Wednesday at 3:00. And again, I'm so grateful to LinkedIn for giving me this platform on LinkedIn Live. and Facebook and YouTube. Our intent is to tackle burning issues of the day. And my goodness, there's no lack of them, are there? But money continues to be something that is troubling to so many staff in the world. And we can do something about it. We're not desperate. We, fortunately, there are jobs. If you are trained and you are skilled and you are bringing it every day. So Janelle, I welcome you every Wednesday at 3:00. Jen and I are doing this together and putting our heads together with your heads. And my thought always is that, 100 heads are better than one, 7 heads are better than one. I helped create New York Celebrity Assistants. I've always known that. And, I come from theater. I was a theater and English major at Rutgers University. I worked with Olympia for 25 years. And what I know about theater and film is it's a collaborative art. This thing we're in, this workplace, is a collaboration, that assistants can't function alone, that we need the leaders, we need HR, we need recruiters. We have a system that we're building. I'm working on my next book about an ultimate workplace, about what we can do to move forward in our world and in the workplace and make it better for people. And so each week we have a different theme. We talked about mental health. I bring in experts, and I think I'm going to even be able to convince Jeremy Spake, my co-writer for that article. I hope you'll check it out on Executive Secretary Magazine. Jen, we have a few other announcements, right?
We do. Next September 30th, we have a different time that we will be airing that everybody should know. We will be on at 5 p.m.
Yeah, just next Wednesday. I'm speaking at the Executive Leadership Support Forum next Wednesday, and that happens to be at exactly the time that we typically do this event. So we're switching it to 5 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope you'll follow us just next Wednesday, and then we'll be back to 3 p.m.
Yep. And if you all have not yet seen the new and improved, beautiful website, you can check out Bonnie's new website and let us know what you think.
A labor of love. Yeah.
Definitely.
We've launched the Be the Ultimate Assistant on Demand course. We just finished our first time doing it virtually, live, and now the course that I teach with Vicki Sokol-Evans, soft skills and hard skills, is available on demand. So in the comfort of your own home, at your own pace. I hope you'll go to my website, bonnielowkramen.com. You can also go to betheultimateassistant.com. The resources tab is filled with the blogs and the podcasts, all designed to support you to have the career you want, for you to make the money you want. You've earned the right to work how you want to work, with people who respect you and value you and acknowledge your contribution to the company. That matters to companies, and it has a benefit to companies. So as Mary Allen said, we need to speak truth to power, and I want to support you in every way I can to do exactly that. Any last comments, questions, Jen?
Website looks fab, excellent.
Thanks, Deb. Mwah. Thanks a lot. Another B2Aer. So thanks, Jill. We have so many alumni here on the call. So I think we need to wrap it up for today. Yeah. Let me just say, I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for listening in, to take time away from your busy schedules to join us. This issue of money is something that I want to solve it, and I want you to solve it with me. So let me help you do this in your career and in your life. And if you have any ideas about themes, guests, I want you to email me, bonnie@bonnielowkramen.com. Jen Wilner, thank you so much for all of your help, as always. We've been together 7 years, and I am immensely grateful to you.
Same here. Same here.
Great. So you are all so welcome. Thank you for being here, and we'll hopefully see. Oh, I know I can probably hear Robert in the other room saying, if you're interested in the BD Ultimate Assistant on-demand course, we're offering a coupon code BTUAOD250, which will take $250 off the cost of the course.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jen, am I missing anything else?
No, you got it now. I was waiting for that.
Okay. All right. She, in true form, she keeps me on track. And so does Robert Sanders, my amazing partner. So thank you all.
Robert.
Yeah, Robert's in the back. What a miracle this is. Thank you, LinkedIn Live. Thank you, Facebook Live. And thank you, YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
See you next time.
Next week, everybody. Take care, Bon.